Hello, dear students. Today we will cover the topic of animal tissues, the various kinds of animal tissues. So, as you can see in the slide in front of you, there are four basic kinds of animal tissues: the epithelial, connective, muscular, and nervous. Epithelial is that tissue which covers the body externally as well as internally. It's meant for protection, absorption, secretion, and it has a sensory role. The connective tissue is that which connects various other tissues together. It provides supports, it binds organs, it helps in transportation of substances, and it also helps in immunity. The muscular tissue helps in two things: movement and locomotion. Movement is simply movement in one particular place, but when a person moves from point A to point B, that is called as locomotion. The nervous tissue helps in conduction of nerve impulses and making us aware about our external and the internal environment. So let's study these tissues in detail. So first one is the epithelial tissue. The epithelial tissue, as I told you, covers the body externally and internally. It is of various types. If it is flattened cells without any intercellular spaces, like a pavement, it's called as squamous epithelial tissue. If the cells have the same height and same length and breadth, then they're called as the cuboidal epithelial tissue. If cuboidal epithelial tissue will have hair-like projections over themselves, they're called as ciliated cuboidal epithelial tissue. If instead of cuboidal epithelial tissue, the cells are longer than broader, then they'll be called as columnar epithelial tissue. And if instead of having one single layer of epithelium, there are multiple layers, it's called as stratified. So the stratified epithelial tissue is found in places like skin, where the skin has number of layers of epithelial tissue. One layer for protection, one layer has the pigment, one layer which is shed regularly. So the epithelial tissue is also found in your cornea, the part of your eye which can be given in eye donation. The cornea has multiple layers of epithelial tissue. It is also found in your esophageal lining, the lining which connects, the structure which connects your mouth, that means the last part, pharynx, to your stomach, that is called as esophagus. So the lining of esophagus is regularly shed and affected, that has got multiple layers of epithelial tissue, which is the stratified epithelial tissue. The columnar epithelial tissue, as I told you, they are longer than broader. These cells are found in the digestive tract. The cells of the epithelial tissue, the columnar epithelial tissue or the ciliated epithelial tissue, may have hair-like projections. Then they are called as ciliated. If it is columnar cells which have got cilia, we use the word ciliated columnar. If on the other hand, it will be cuboidal cells with cilia, we will call them as ciliated cuboidal epithelial tissue. The columnar cells in certain cases bend inwards, forming a small cavity which we call as goblet. This goblet is found throughout the inner lining of your digestive tract. Now, the purpose of the goblet cells is to produce mucus. The inner lining of your digestive tract, for example, your stomach, produces a strong acid like hydrochloric acid. This acid can digest and damage the inner lining of stomach. So to prevent that from happening, the goblet cells produce a large amount of mucus, which will cover all the stomach cells, preventing them from any damage, so that the hydrochloric acid in the stomach can directly act on the food, but not damage the inner lining of the stomach. So same goes with the entire reproductive tract of the digestive system. The glandular epithelial tissue is also found in the respiratory passage, where the cilia constantly lash and remove the mucus laden with dust particles and germs and push it out either towards the mouth or towards your nose. So you can remove the dust which may have entered your respiratory passage and may block your alveoli. The next tissue which we are going to do is called as the connective tissue. Okay, the connective tissue is divided into various subtypes. The first one is connective tissue proper. It is of three types: the adipose, the areolar, and the fibrous connective tissue. The fibrous connective tissue is made of fibers. These fibers are of two types: ligament and tendon. Ligament is a structure which binds one bone to another bone. So the two bones are bound together by a ligament. A tendon, on the other hand, is a structure which binds muscles to the bone. So this is a tendon and this is a ligament. So ligament binds bone to bones, tendon binds muscles to bone. Now both ligaments and tendons, they are fibers. They need to be held in place. So they are held in place by areolar tissue. Areolar tissue is the most widespread tissue in the body. It is present beneath skin in all parts. It prevents your skin from any stretching action. The adipose tissue is present below it. It is a layer of cells storing fat. The adipose has an effect of insulating the body. This increases in number, in quantity, in size during winter season when your body needs to be insulated from the cold outside. The adipose also acts as a shock absorbing cushion, preventing your body from any kind of shock or physical injury. So all these tissues are arranged in the body in this manner. So the areolar is your binding tissue and the fat layer is present just underneath your skin, protecting the skin from any kind of shock and also acting as a heat insulating layer. Now, next, after connective tissue proper, you have supportive connective tissue. Now, why we use the word supportive? Because it supports your entire body. It provides your body a particular shape. So the supportive connective tissue is of two types, the bone and the cartilage. The bone forms the structural framework of the body. It is this which will define the shape of your body, will give you a height, will protect your internal organs from any damage, and give certain degree of rigidity and allow for movement and locomotion. The bone, which is hard and rigid, has to be contoured or softened at the ends. That is done by the cartilage. The cartilage is the tissue which is elastic, semi-transparent or translucent, and it has a special effect that it is not having any blood vessels or nerve endings. That is why people can get their ears and noses pierced, because the sensation is only felt by the skin layer above, but not by the cartilage below. So the nose, the ear lobe, the nose tip, this is made up of cartilage. Cartilage is also found connecting different bones together. Like, for example, your rib cage connects to the sternum, the middle bone here. These 12 pairs of ribs, they connect to the middle bone with the help of a cartilage. It will allow for expansion and contraction of your rib cage, which facilitates breathing movement. The cartilage connects two bones together. The cartilage also is a covering present. The cartilage will be present here and helping the assisting the ligament which connects the bones together. But the cartilage will be a structure which will be present at the tip of two bones. It will prevent the bones from rubbing against each other, protecting it from any kind of damage or injury. There will be a fluid which will be separating the two bones, but the cartilage will be basically preventing any rubbing action or friction between the two bones. The bone is porous. It has got holes in it because of blood vessels. The cartilage is non-porous. The bone is richly supplied with blood vessels and nerve endings. Cartilage has neither any nerve endings nor any blood vessels. A characteristic feature of the bone is this Haversian canal. It is not found anywhere else in the body. The Haversian canal is the area where blood vessels and nerve endings will be passing through the entire bone region. The bone cells are basically living cells called as osteoblasts. They increase in number to increase the density of the bone. So osteoblasts and Haversian canals are unique features found only in the bones. The third category of connective tissue is called as the fluid connective tissue. It is this liquid which will be circulating through the body, either in certain areas where it is called as lymph. Lymph will be found in lymph glands or it will be found in lymph vessels. There is no pumping organ for lymph. Lymph is basically made up of only WBCs and plasma. But when WBCs, plasma, and RBCs are present together, we call that fluid connective tissue as blood. Blood is pumped by your heart. The heart pushes this blood to the entire body and it carries oxygen, removes nitrogenous waste, helps filtering of blood. It carries carbon dioxide, the nutrients, the waste material. So all this is done by the blood. The WBCs, on the other hand, they help in immunity. They protect your body from any kind of infection. They will digest and eat the germ cells which enter. The platelets which are found, they help in blood clotting. If any injury takes place, to prevent the blood loss, the platelets will form a clot over that injured part. The blood plasma carries minerals and nutrients for various body parts to use, or it will help in removal of waste material. So together, the blood and lymph, they form the fluid connective tissue. The next tissue which we will be studying is called as the muscle tissue. It is of three types: the smooth muscles, the skeletal muscles, and the cardiac muscles. The smooth muscles, as the name indicates, have got a smooth texture. These muscles are spindle shaped with tapering edges. They are not under the control of an individual. They do not have any light or dark banding in them. They are found in the internal organs except heart. They are found in all blood vessels, especially the artery and the vein. The capillaries do not have any muscular tissue in them. The skeletal muscles are those muscles which are bound to your skeleton and under the control of an individual. Your arms, your legs, your backs, your thigh, your jaw, they all have skeletal muscles. They are voluntary. They have light and dark banding in them. The cardiac muscles are very unique. They are found only in the heart. They are branched muscles. These muscles have got a unique light and dark banding. So the cardiac and skeletal muscles have a similarity that they are both striated or banded. The cardiac and smooth muscles have a similarity that they are both involuntary. So the skeletal muscles, you can see the striations very clearly. The cardiac muscles have the striations, but they also have this structure which is called as the intercalated disc. This intercalated disc is a structure found only in case of the cardiac muscles. The smooth muscle fibers have no such striations. So the cardiac muscles are unique, that they are muscles found only in the heart. They are not found anywhere else in the body. The last tissue in animals is the nervous or the neural tissue. The individual unit of the nervous or the neural tissue is a neuron. The nervous tissue makes up your brain, your spinal cord, and the nerves originating from it. But all activities are carried at the level of a neuron. The neuron is made up of a cyton and dendrons or dendrites. One of the dendron becomes longer in size, elongates, and is called as the axon. It develops around it a layer of fatty tissue, which is called as the myelin sheath. And around the myelin sheath, it will have an insulating layer called as neurolemma. There are gaps in the axon where the neurolemma does not have any protective covering, or the axon is not surrounded by the myelin sheath. Wherever the myelin sheath is not there, that area is called as the node of Ranvier. The cells which form the myelin sheath, they are called as Schwann cells, and they are found only in the neuron. Another thing about the neural tissue or the neuron is that there are these bodies called as the Nissl bodies or Nissl granules. They help in synthesis of proteins, and they are unique for the cytone. Only cytones in the entire body or the neurons in the entire body will be having the Nissl bodies, the Nissl granules. Now, if you look at any part of the human body, it will have all animal tissues. For example, if you look at the arm will be having the connective tissue. It will be having the fibrous connective tissue. It will have the various fatty layers, adipose tissue, the cartilage, which will be joining and preventing the tip of the bones, and which will be covering the tip of the bones and will be preventing it from any kind of damage. The ligament, which will be joining one bone to the next bone, the tendon, which will join the muscle with the bone, and it will be having blood vessels. That means connective tissue proper, the fluid connective tissue will be there. It will be having the nerves passing through it. So all tissues, whether it is the connective tissue, whether it's the muscular tissue, whether it's the neural tissue, or whether it's the epithelial tissue, which is going to cover the body, the arm externally, all animal tissues will be found virtually in all parts of the body. So with this, we have reached the end of the animal tissues. The animal tissues are of these four categories: the epithelial, the muscular, the connective, and the neural tissue. The epithelial tissue is simple squamous or stratified squamous, columnar, ciliated columnar, cuboidal, and then the glandular epithelial tissue. The muscular tissue is striated, non-striated, and cardiac. Striated are the skeletal muscles, non-striated are the smooth muscles. The cardiac muscles are found in the heart. The connective tissue is divided into connective tissue proper, supportive connective tissue, and fluid connective tissue. The connective tissue proper is having the areolar tissue, which basically is spread uniformly in the body. The adipose tissue, which has the fat layer, and the fibrous tissue, the tendons and the ligament. The supportive connective tissue is of two types, cartilage and bone. The cartilage, I told you, has no nerve endings, has got no blood vessels, is non-porous, whereas the bone is porous, is richly supplied with blood vessels, and has got nerve endings. The fluid connective tissue is of two types, the blood and lymph. Blood will be helping in transportation of gases, nutrients, and waste material, and lymph has a primary function in immunity. The neural tissue makes you aware of your external and internal environment. It helps in perception, and this tissue makes you extremely aware of your internal and external environment. So with this, we finish the animal tissues. Hope you have understood it all. So wish you all the very best. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.